People, especially in this region, in the Middle East, that think the main obstacle to peace is Netanyahu, not Haniya. It's Likud that's governing in Israel, not Hamas. It's Israel, not Gaza. This is the obstacle to peace.
All right, thanks so much, Marwan Bishara. Well, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was speaking, two separate protests have been taking place in Tel Aviv. One group is calling for him to step down. The other is demanding the release of all captives being held in Gaza. Let's go live now to Hamda Salhoud. She joins us from Tel Aviv. And I understand, Hamda, as he was speaking, there were some scuffles going on. Tell us what was happening there.
As you can see behind me, the anti-government demonstration in full force. This is the first time since the beginning of the war that the anti-government protest movement has come out in full force like this. You can see police mounted on horseback here and these trucks that have been placed by Israeli police. And that's in order to prevent the demonstrators from going all the way down this road to our left here and blocking the Ayalon highway. That's something that the anti-government protest movement was doing constantly in the year of 2023 leading up to the war. Now, simultaneously, just across the street, you have a rally to bring back the captives. At some point this evening, those two demonstrations will come together into one massive protest against the Israeli government's policy that has seen not bringing back the captives. The Israeli Prime Minister speaking tonight, addressing the issue. But when you talk to Israelis here in this crowd, they'll tell you that time has simply run out. 134 days have gone by, and the family members have not seen their loved ones. So on top of that protest, you have anti-government demonstrations here in Tel Aviv, Israelis showing up in the thousands. Sammy?
All right, thanks so much. Hamda Salhoud there. Well, Menachem Klein is Professor of Political Science at Bar Ilan University. Joins us now from West Jerusalem. I suppose you've probably just heard the address there by Netanyahu. Was this an attempt basically to speak to Israeli public opinion and say, hey, don't value the sacrifice of soldiers less than the captives and their families' demands?
Definitely. And I see Netanyahu. In my view, Netanyahu is under heavy pressure. I cannot otherwise understand why he chose the timing of his address at the same time when the protests are out in the streets, mainly in Tel Aviv. It shows that Netanyahu is under heavy pressure from abroad and internally, and he tries to continue his campaign. Is a re-election campaign, actually, that he started weeks ago. And the other thing is, and very, very sadly, I would say as an Israeli, Netanyahu speaks in definitive terms. To have it as a zero-sum game in his struggle, on Israel's struggle against Hamas, this is unachievable. So absolute goals are unachievable neither on the battlefield nor in politics. Anyone who studied history knows that. Anyone who is in politics knows that. And he refuses to acknowledge that this is a recipe for continuous suffering and fighting. And this is not the way to bring back the hostages or to end or to have a ceasefire. Definitely not.
I want to pick up on a few things you said there. It was interesting because I was discussing precisely that point, the timing with our earlier guest, Marwan. And how successful do you think that kind of narrative will be with to calm down the Israeli public? Is anyone going to buy that argument that, hey, I have to continue this war because the soldiers and their families want me to?
Yeah, but the demonstrations against Netanyahu are getting momentum. The question is whether it will continue or they reach the maximum turnout that they can hope for. I assume that it will gain momentum following the Netanyahu address this evening, blaming the demonstrators that the hidden power behind them is somebody with political interest, either domestically or outside, and so on. This will bring more and more people out to demand early elections and demonstrate for a deal. This is not the way to calm down the demonstrations. On the other hand, this will convince many Israelis to go out. Those who refrain from demonstrating during war, this will send them out more and more, I expect.
Do you suspect that the Prime Minister has personal reasons to try and make sure that there isn't negotiations and a quick end to this?
The Prime Minister has political and personal reasons to continue the war and to war endlessly. Definitely, this is his personal and political interest, and therefore he speaks in absolute terms. This is not the interest of the Israeli public, neither of the head of the Israeli union, the workers' union, that this evening said we have to go to early elections. Prime Minister should resign. If the unions join the demonstrations, then the country will burn out. The streets will full of demonstrators, and it may close down for days the country.
Do you suspect that the countdown has begun for the Netanyahu administration?
It will take time and much demonstrations, many demonstrations, and a long resistance. Netanyahu is a great campaigner. He has still hardcore of followers that believe any fake news that comes out from his office, and they will fight back. It will not be a very nice time for Israel.
And how key will be the support, the continued support of the right wing of Israeli politics for Netanyahu? As long as he can count on them, does he have a good lifeline?
Yeah, he can count on them. Of course, his coalition is very stable. They are united, and they have joint political and personal interests. Each of them, each minister, each party. But if the country is demonstrating as it was before October 7, if so many hundreds of thousands, if tens of thousands are out demanding early elections, this will put pressure on the center, Gantz and Eisenkot from the war cabinet member, those who are in the cabinet, war cabinet members, to leave and support the early elections. This is the key element. Gantz and Eisenkot will not leave the war cabinet just because they are convinced theoretically that this is the right thing to do. They will leave if there is a social and political pressure from the outside by the Israeli public.
You mentioned there your analysis that this Netanyahu's position, as he outlined, is very absolutist. Does the Netanyahu administration have, or has it presented, a plan for the day after the war, let alone how to win this war?
Very, very blunt and general terms. Netanyahu opposed the re-enter of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza. He and the security establishment prefer to find local agents that will run everyday life in Gaza Strip under their control, under the security and the Israeli occupation control. This is unachievable. absolutely unachievable as long as Hamas is out of this administration, as long as this administration, the local administration, did not get public support, vote of confidence through general elections. General elections in Palestine is a key issue for the day after, not only of Gaza, but also of the West Bank, because the Americans want the day after plan also in Ramallah, in the PA administration, the day after Abbas.
Right.
The key element is general elections.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts and analysis on that.
Thank you.
Now, Israeli strikes have killed dozens of Palestinians in Gaza in the last few hours. At least 66 were killed across central and southern areas of the Strip. The latest attacks came after a day of intense